Not even developmental territories?
No, because unfortunately they have fucked the developmental system. The developmental system should not be just one centrally located giant plant. I mean, WCW, if you learn nothing, when we learn nothing from history, we are doomed to make the same mistakes. WCW had the power plant. How successful was that? It was the shits. Well, what do we got now? We got WWE's power plant. How successful do you think that's going to be? Why? Because they don't run that many live shows. They have them herded in there like cattle, and they're in an empty building just doing drills. They're not learning or understanding the concept of how what they're doing is to draw money, and through experience of doing that. There should have been. Take me out of the equation, because everybody's going to say, well, you're doing that because you're slighted and you lost your job. I care less. I was there for 13 years. At some point in time, it's going to come to a fucking end. You know, it was great. I have nothing to complain about. But they should have kept that Louisville system. They should have kept the Atlanta system. They should have given Booker T a developmental in Texas. And then they should have had Florida. They should have had 4 or 5. And then the general rule of thumb is that most talent are going to be in that system for probably 2 years if they can't find something, or a writer doesn't get a hard on and have a sudden idea for one of them, that they're going to be in there for around 2 years. Well, leave him in Louisville for a while. If he does, and he has his run there, and if his run's up, or he's not really fitting in, move him to Atlanta. Maybe he'll figure something out there. Well, if he hasn't figured it out in that amount of time, or his run, he gets hot for a little while as a babyface, and then his run's over. Remember, one like this, so you can only, so when it comes time to move him down here, well, we either move him down here, or we move him to Florida, or we move him to Texas. And now, for some reason, the booker there, the promoter there, sees him as a heel. Well, now he's got the chance to learn how to be a heel, and because all performers, if you're a babyface, you got to learn how to get yourself over. You got to learn how to keep yourself over, and you got to learn how to get yourself back over. Okay? As a heel, you got to learn how to get your heat, how to keep your heat, and then how to get your heat back. You always have to, and you don't get that chance, you don't get that opportunity, or that understanding based on going out and performing 3, 4, 5, 6 times a week in front of a live audience, and not having some dick standing back there going, "It was a great match. That was at least 3 or 4, 5 stars. Oh God!" No, if he's standing back here and he goes, "Well, you know what, guys? We had 350 people last month. This month we had 280. That's the shits. What did we do wrong? Where did we screw up? And now we had 350 last month. Now we have 475. What did we do right? Because we need to keep doing that." You understand? It doesn't matter how good your fucking match is. Because if your match doesn't result in extra ticket sales, then it don't matter. It means nothing. How many times have you heard about, oh, this guy had a 5-star match? It was in front of 85 fucking people. I'm not putting that down. But they came back the next month and it was in front of 22. Well, apparently that wasn't that great a fucking match, now was it? Because it didn't generate more income. And if it doesn't generate more income, then how is the promoter going to continue to pay for rent and other investments that he has to make in order to run the show? Well, apparently everybody thinks the promoters are just philanthropic people. Afraid not. They're not. It's a matter of them having that genuine, hands-on experience in every role too. Of being on TV and having to put other guys over, and understanding why they're putting those guys over is that this guy's hot, and that if we get him over, as opposed to me making $50 a night, this guy gets over, he's going to make $100 a night, and I'm going to make $50 a night, and if he gets over, he's going to make $300 a night. But guess what? Now I'm going to make $150 a night. So it's in my best interest to get this guy over, or to get this guy heat, and I understand that from a direct correlation as to how many people showed up. And then when I'm in that spot, I've got to understand that it's not just about me getting over for me, it's about me getting over so that we all make money. And that, as a result, is and the only way that they're ever going to get that, and the only way you're ever going to possibly develop that talent, is to give them that experience in Louisville, in Atlanta, in Florida, in Texas, in Maine, in California, wherever you want. And what frustrates me is that WWE, that's their product, and they, as opposed to, they're investing a ton of money in the developmental system, but not in the proper way. They're developing, they're using it in just a sanitized, closed-in environment, as opposed to taking these guys out and making them go from town to town to town to town to town, which is really where they're going to learn.
Another thing we're seeing today is use the word sanitized before, PG version of a product now. I think it's probably got a lot to do with an election that's going on, but nevertheless, we're seeing a PG product now. What's your impression of this?
Well, I agree with you. I think it has a lot to do with the election, but I also think it has a lot to do with the UFC, which is, again, a completely asinine correlation. The success of the UFC, which is directly related to and tracked back to, and ain't just my opinion, but numerous people that are in the know, including Dana White, have all tracked it right back to Ultimate Fighter, which was a complete and total and the admitted ripoff of Tough Enough. The only reason that it was put on the air was because Spike TV had approached WWE about putting Tough Enough on the air, and they declined it, which opened the doors for Ultimate Fighter.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know it. What is professional wrestling? It's MMA. It was the original MMA. Catch wrestling is the original MMA because they always incorporated every type of style along with martial arts and everything. Granted, it was a work, but that was what it was and still is today. But now it's just become more centered on the performance and not on the idea that they're working the actual competition. As a result, I think the PG direction is a direction in trying to make it more realistic or more realism, which is completely fucking absurd when you're still not trying to do one or other of the two things that would allow you to win. You can make it to the point where Vince McMahon sends out statements or memos and tells all the talent, hey, when somebody's throwing punches, you throw your hands up, because that's real, and you wouldn't react that way if it were real, and you wouldn't do this because it's not. But then apparently it's okay to knock the guy right back down and bend over and pick him right back up from the very place you'd have beat him. What was the point in knocking him down? When you take away that's the only relatable thing, that a little bit of wrestling psychology, okay? Why do baseball, football, and basketball have such huge audiences?
Because we don't know who's going to win.
Wrong. Because everybody's played them. Even if you just played it in your backyard or in your driveway or at your family reunion, everybody's picked up a bat and hit a ball. Everybody's played, even if it's just flag football. Everybody's picked up a basketball and thrown it at a hoop, so you have a physical relationship with what's happening on the screen or what you're watching on the field. So you can appreciate how much skill, effort, so on it takes. You can understand why Michael Jordan's so incredibly great, because you've picked up a basketball and your white ass is trying to jump like he does and you can't do it. So you go, this guy's amazing.
You should see it, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it's scary. Why is hockey such a much bigger sport in Canada than it is everywhere else?
Because they play.
Wow. Why is soccer bigger around the rest of the world than it is here? Yeah, because they play it. Why will soccer become bigger here than it is, as much as it is around the rest of the world? Because more kids are now playing it. Do you see the correlation? It's really pretty simple. Tell me one thing you physically did that was like wrestling before you ever possibly stepped in the fucking ring. You ever get thrown into the ropes? You ever take a backdrop? Most people think that the ring is a trampoline or a mattress. Trust me, I can tell you after 30 years, it ain't nowhere near either one of those two things. Don't have a physical relationship to it. So what's the one consequence that you can relate to that happens in the ring? You can't relate consequentially to the physicality. You can only relate to the fact that that move will eventually lead to a possible win or loss. And when the guys go out there and bend over and pick up each person, doesn't matter how PG sanitized, how realistic you want to make it, it is completely unreal because you've taken away the one consequence of the move that anybody could relate to. Therefore, there's no consequence, there's no drama, there's no drama, there's no emotional connection, there's no emotional connection, there's no heat. Heat's what sells tickets, not your offense in the middle of the fucking match, you asshole. Duh.
And they moved them to Raw, so now you're screwed. You got it. I like Brian and Danielson, but they're not letting him do anything.
And he's being buried.
What am I on total time?
An hour. So are we gonna do a show, Wrestling Myths Shattered with Al Snow? Where you go through all the myths of wrestling?
Well, I'm basically smartening you up, is what I'm
Pretty
doing.
much, yeah.
So can we be smart marks now?
No, you can't. Doesn't exist. It's an oxymoronic term.
Where did that first come up? Where was the...
By fans?
Yeah, I'm trying to think when the first time I ever heard it.
I first heard it like...
It's an internet thing, right? It's an internet
Yeah.
term.
Internet sheet readers.
Like newsletters, maybe. Like
Right,
the
because
George or
they
something like that.
claim that they're smart to the business that they've never actually been involved
Right, 'cause
with.
they know a
Yeah,
little
they
bit
know
about what's
the
gonna
inside
happen.
workings. You
They
don't
know the
know, you
handshake.
don't know shit until you have had to actually go out there and base or anything you do on how many people will now show up based on what you did, and the way that you're going to be able to pay your bills is in relationship to that. You have no understanding, no concept, no grasp of what really goes on in this business. You just don't.
Do bookers now, you think, book or write, whatever you want to call it now, based on what they think the audience should want, as opposed to what the audience actually wants and tells them?
Sure, I do all the time. You ain't gonna tell me what to fucking write. I will tell you what you will like and dislike, but I will always take the path of least resistance. I will get a feel or direction that from you that as a whole of what I think is going to be the easiest way to go, and then I'll tell you what to think. I'll tell you what, and you'll go along with it because you kind of gave me the idea that you were going to go that direction anyhow.
Right.
And
You won't intentionally oppose like the audience thinks they want this, so I'm going to show them they're wrong, and I'm going to.
you can't. You're not going to win.
But it kind of seems like that's what's happening sometimes now.
No, it kind of seems like that what's happening to you. You guys think that I along with, and Vince McMahon does this too. When I would book, I would book for Mr. and Mrs. Walmart. I would not book for you. It's like writing a comic book movie. I myself read tons of comic books. I've got a pile of them upstairs that because it's the only way I can keep any remnant of what sanity I have left while I'm flying on a plane. So I know the characters, I know the storylines, I know all the background and all the history. Okay,
Right.
I'm a smart mark, but if I do a movie, I have to produce a movie that is not going to just appeal to that smart mark crowd, which is only
The fanboys.
this much of
Hey.
Right.
the audience. Okay? I have to appeal to this much of the audience. So I have to write that movie in such a way that these people will still pay to see it,
Right.
and these people
But
will pay
the-
to see
But
it.
you'll entice the others to come in too.
What about the first Hulk movie then? Then you get something like that sometimes.
Well, you're gonna have your hits and misses. Spider-Man could have been a complete, turd in a punch bowl, but it went on to make millions and millions and millions of dollars all over the world, and it's because they got the gist of it right. Do you know what I mean?
But
Like
he's the
Daredevil.
widest audience possible because you want to make the most.
Because at the end of the day, the lawyers and accountants in Hollywood, they don't care if you win an Academy Award. They don't. They care if they made their money back plus. Because they know that if they don't, there won't be another movie. See, that's the concept that has been lost, is that in the wrestling business as a whole, that the talent themselves, and I can tell you exactly, you can turn that fucking camera on, I can tell you exactly where it all changed. I can tell you to the point, to the day where the prevalent mindset changed in the wrestling business and why it is where it is right now.
So we're rolling if you want to.
Do you want to ask them? Sean said that.
Yeah, well,
We can bring
I'll elicit it.
Yeah.
We don't want to make Sean irrelevant. Okay, we want to put Sean over.
It's my dream to be
Don't-
irrelevant. Are you kidding me?
I'm going to keep you as
Wish
relevant.
somebody would host this fucking thing.
I'm going to keep you as relevant. Don't get
You're doing
pissy.
very well,
Don't get
Sean.
hot. If you're hot, say you're hot.